How are we, people? I hope you're well. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to this show. Going to try and do as much as I can to bring you something daily. And we are going to be talking about some rumours today. We're going to be talking about some transfers today. We're going to be talking about England game. That, of course, is tonight at 5 p.m. England-Denmark tonight. What do we think the score is going to be there? How do we think it's going to go? What are our thoughts of the team news? How do we see the game going? We're going to be talking about Pedro Neto links with Arsenal. We're also going to be talking about the fact that Arsenal are linked heavily with Mark GUEHI today. And, of course, Xavi Simmons looks to be on the move, but where is he going to go? Would you be interested in a move for Xavi Simmons? And the Osimhen rumour just continues. Some saying we've called interest. Some saying we're preparing a bid. Who knows? There's a lot of rumours. And all I will say is that I can only look at the rumours that are around at the moment and share the information. I always say that because what I don't want is people believing that Dan Potts is an ITK. I have absolutely no ITK with the club. All I do is talk about the players we're linked with and ask you guys if you think that he would be a good fit at the club. We're also going to talk about some of the outgoings today. Kieran Tierney injured again last night. Are we going to be able to sell him now, or is he now going to be out? Potentially stuck with Arsenal if it's a bad injury. I don't know what the news is on Kieran Tierney. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about Zinchenko. Also going to talk about a little bit more on some of the outgoings at Arsenal that we might think we could be seeing. And some of the players that we've forgotten about that are actually coming back to the club that we think maybe could be on their way out. So that's what the show is going to be today. Make sure you do me a favor and hit like on this video. Really important that you do that, please, people. We are not getting anywhere near the amount of likes that we need. So please make sure that you like the video. It's absolutely free. The other thing that's free to do is to subscribe. If you do not subscribe, you will not be part of the community, and that's exactly what you want me to be. So please make sure that you hit the subscribe button as well. Like and subscribe. If you do want to be joining as a member, then you can do. If you would like one of these behind me, link in the description to russellhogphotography@hotmail.com. If you do want one of those canvases and you're a gooner, make sure you drop him a line and you can make sure that you can get one. Now, we are going to talk all things Arsenal, and we are going to start with the links to Mark GUEHI. Now, it was a couple of days ago that I heard about this, and last summer we were linked with Mark GUEHI, and it was a player that I looked at and thought, yeah, that's somebody I want. I really badly want Mark GUEHI at Arsenal. I think he's a fantastic talent. I think he's one that at the age of just 23, 24 years old, he's going to be one for the future, that's for sure. I think his first international tournament as an England player was very, very good in terms of a debut the other night. I thought he was fantastic. I think he definitely is at the moment the centre-back that needs to partner John Stones. Crystal Palace looking to sell him. Now, I don't think that's right, actually, looking to sell him. Accepting that he might want to go, I suppose, is the right term to use. And I think Mark GUEHI and Jarrad Branthwaite are probably going to be two of England's future centre-halves, and both of them could be on the move. Now, if you're Manchester United and you're looking for a centre-back pairing, for me, you've got to do all you can to try and get those players at the club, in my opinion. So I'll be surprised if other clubs don't go in for him. Manchester United, Liverpool, looking at a centre-half with Van Dijk not getting any younger. Newcastle, looking for somebody to partner Sven Botman, who's had some injury problems. Chelsea, of course, are always looking out for players, albeit Mark GUEHI was actually with them. And I do question sometimes the players that Chelsea have let go. Tariq Lamptey, Livramento, Nathan Ake, Mark GUEHI, the list kind of goes on. And I just wonder if Chelsea would have stuck by some of their youngsters instead of trying to get player after player after player, maybe they would actually have a better outfit at the back right now in terms of a defensive partnership and department. But let's see where we're at there. Mark GUEHI, what does he offer? Well, he's got all the physical attributes to fit the league. He's Premier League proven. I don't think he's going to be much more than £60 million. I wouldn't have thought that Crystal Palace would accept anything less than 50 to 60 million pounds, and that's certainly about right in my opinion. If Ben White was 50 million pounds when he come from Brighton, then Mark GUEHI is certainly going to be that at least. I think what we've also got to understand with Mark GUEHI is that he's young, but also he wants to play football. Now, that is my only concern and query. Mark GUEHI might not want to come to Arsenal to sit on the bench behind Gabriel and Saliba. A lot of people have mentioned Diamande being the guy they want. Again, he's going to want first team football, and it's very hard at the moment for me to look at any Arsenal signing at the back and believe they're guaranteed to start. If we buy a right back, is he going to get ahead Ben White? If we get a right-sided or left-sided centre-back, are they going to break up the partnership of Gabriel and Saliba? And if we get a left-back, are they going to get ahead of Timber? I don't think there's anybody in defence at the moment that is going to get knocked out of their position, unless we go and buy somebody in the calibre of Saliba, which I don't think we're going to go and do. Now, Mark GUEHI, Diamande, Jarrad Branthwaite, all these names that are being thrown at me, I would prefer us to go and get somebody like that because they're going to have the best backup. What I think is probably the more likely option is that we're going to go and get a versatile backup defender that can actually come in and fit in that right-sided centre-back position. Now, a lot of people are saying to me, why do we need a defender? I would actually throw it back to say, why do we need a left back? I don't think we need a left back. I think Timber and Tomiyasu are fine there. Kivior can play there. Still got Zinchenko. I don't rate there, but of course, Mikel Arteta likes him in that position, inverting. I think if you've got Ben White and Tomiyasu as your right backs, Kivior and Gabriel as your left-sided centre backs, left back, we've got Timber, Tomiyasu, and Zinchenko. Why do we need another left back? I think the only place we're potentially short is at right-sided centre back. Tomiyasu and then White can play there, so can Timber, but let's be real, they're not actually proper right-sided centre-backs, are they? They're just doing a job there. I don't think Arsenal are positioned to have anybody in to do a job. I think you've got to have your 22 players that come in, and you have your first 11 and your second 11 that back them up. And I don't know that we've got that at the moment, and that's what we're trying to build, is that strength in depth. And I think there's only really maybe 2 or 3 positions in the first 11 that are up for grabs. A striker being one of them, a midfielder being one of them, and a defender being one of them. So whereabouts is that position in defence? Maybe it's a backup. I think there's only really the central midfield position and maybe the striker option in that first 11 that you can debate somebody getting in. I think the left 8 and the number 9 are 2 positions that you could actually walk into the first team at Arsenal. Everyone else, I think, would have to fight for their position, which is a good place to be in, for sure. Other news in defensive options is that Ferdi Kadioglu, there's a Turkish report saying that Arsenal preparing a bid of around £20+ million for Ferdi Kadioglu. Now, I believe he's a player that can play a little bit of everywhere, and it's quite similar to what I was saying. I don't think, however, he can play at centre-back. He is a left-sided player, whether it be left attacking midfield, left wing back, left back. I don't think he's very defensive-minded. So it's a bit of a strange one, this one, in my opinion, if it is to be true. Apparently, Fenerbahce are looking for closer to 30 to 35. He's having a good Euro so far in a tournament that I've seen. He played very well against for Turkey the other day, in my opinion anyway. So I'm looking at that scenario and thinking, why, ? If he's going to do the job that Zinchenko's already doing, and we've already got Zinchenko, does that mean that Zinchenko is going to be leaving? Does it mean that Tavares, Zinchenko, and potentially Tierney are all leaving? And that's why we're going for another left back. We still don't know yet. It's still early in the window. But I will say this about the left back situation. Timber has to play there, in my opinion. But Timber's come back from a very long-term injury. Timber has come back from a long-term injury. Is Timber going to be the player that we all expected him to be? I hope so. He looked sharp in the last game of the season. He looked fantastic in the Community Shield and in the Nottingham Forest game that he got injured. But he had the whole season out. Yes, he looks a bright spark. I was excited by the signing. He's only 23 years old. He's not a player I look at and think, wow, his career could be over by that. But certainly it could be affected by it in terms of his fitness. I'm glad he didn't go to the Euros because I don't think it's a player we need to be seeing rushed in, particularly when he's come back from such a long time out. But I do need to be honest and say that I actually believe that it's going to be a real hard option for us to try and accept or just assume, should I say, that Timber's going to be this world-class talent. We've got to give this guy a few games to actually get back into the swing of things. So let's talk a little bit about somebody who might be going. We all know Nuno Tavares is probably going to leave, yeah? Or Nuno Tavares, as we call him. I don't know how much he's going to be. We'll probably get a few million for him, if that. But we just got to get him out of the club now. It's not a player that Arteta wants. And unfortunately, another player that is somebody that Arteta does not want is Kieran Tierney. And we saw last night that he came off with what looked like a bad injury yet again. And it does frustrate me. It's just a player that can't keep fit. Now, he's not the only one, by the way. A lot of people that sit behind the Kieran Tierney bandwagon to get him out are very much, he's always injured. He's not as injured as Zinchenko is. He's not as badly injured as Tomiyasu is. He's not as badly injured as Partey is. But because he gets injured and he's not in Arteta's plans, everyone seems to want to just go, see ya, and give him a little bit of disrespect. What I will say about Kieran Tierney is he's old school. He's definitely not an inverted fullback. He's definitely one that bombs it down the wing and crosses the ball in. He's versatile and can play left-sided centre-back as well as left-back. He's a player that has all the mentality I want to see in an Arsenal shirt and epitomises what I believe a winner and mentality is at Arsenal. I love his professionalism. Not once did he moan when he weren't playing. Understood that he had to fight to get back into the side. Has gone on loan but has not moaned and said, get me out of this club. I hate it here. Yes, he might go back to Celtic. Yes, he might go to Newcastle or somewhere else, but I'm sure that he'll have a great career. He's a top talent. And what I hope is that he has a good career because the injury problems are a worry now. Every time that he has a season, it is hit by injury, no matter where he plays. And unfortunately, it might not be a long-term one that he's out. He's never out for like 6 months, Tierney. He's always got a few knocks and a niggles. And it's frustrating. I don't think we're going to be able to get anything more than 10 to 15 million for Kieran Tierney tops. I don't think anyone's going to be paying anything more than that. I know that we signed him for 25 million, and at 25, 26, you might be looking at that thinking, why did we do that? What are we going to get money? How can we make a loss from this? Injuries is the answer. That's how we've made a loss from it. I was hoping that we could get between 15 and 20 when he did want to go, but now because of the injury hit season he's had, I don't think we're going to get anywhere near that. And I think we've just got to accept that it'll probably have to take £10 million and run for Kieran Tierney now. This is a frustrating thing. But Ferdy Kadioglu linked, Tierney linked with a move away. For me, Tavares is the only other one, along with Cedric, who's left on a free, that we're going to be missing. I don't think we're going to be adding anything more in the defensive area, but I do question that right-sided centre-back position. And I wonder if Mark GUEHI is linked because of that reason. Would we want to be spending £60 million on Mark GUEHI? Is that an area of the pitch that we need to strengthen at £60 million? The answer is yes, but it's not the priority area. So if we've got 60 million to spend on the defensive department, I'd be more than happy to go and spend it on Mark GUEHI, because I think that completes our back line. I think it's literally covers all positions then. We've got our back four, which is, we know, Timber, White, Gabriel and Saliba, and then you've got your proper backup. Your right back cover is Tomiyasu. Your left back cover, you've got Kivior or Tomiyasu, and then you've got, obviously, Kivior at left-sided centre-back, and then Mark GUEHI at right-sided centre-back, if he was to go down that route. So that's what I like about it. I think that's good. And I also believe that it would complete an area which isn't a priority, but an area that we've been trying to build now for a few seasons. We've been building from the back, but we've been losing players like Cedric, Pablo Marie, Nun Tavares, Kieran Tierney. It's developed over the years. It's time to get that cemented now. It's time to stop messing about with the defence. Let's get the one that we want. Let's get the 4, 5, 6 players that we believe are in that position, add the quality to it, and then keep it there. I'm not going to mention goalkeepers today because I did that yesterday, but I will go into the other links. And the next link, of course, is Pedro Neto. Now, when he came on the other night, I thought he was great along with Jota with Portugal. I thought he was really electric. He was sharp. And it is literally down to fitness. Now, £60 million is being linked as the money in Football London for Pedro Neto. That, for me, is a very good signing. He's a good age, international, can play both sides, left and right. I think he can play in the 10. Believe it or not, I think he can actually be a bit of a nuisance in the false 9 if he was to play him there, but I do think he's better right wing, left wing. And Pedro Neto has always been a creator. He's a baller, he's technically gifted, looks good with both feet, can take it past, can shimmy, can get in and out of players, great agility, great footwork. But actually he creates. And he either scores or sets up goals for Wolves in every single game. Now, Wolves are trying to play him for 40 games a season. Arsenal won't be. Arsenal will play him for half of that. Arsenal will play him for about, I don't know, maybe 20 games this season if we was to get Pedro Neto, because Saka's going to be there, right? There's an opportunity that he might play on the left a bit more as well. But I think when you look at it, I personally believe that Pedro Neto would be perfect for Arsenal. I think the amount of opportunities that we would create, and if we got a striker in as well, I think it'd be a phenomenal link to have with Pedro Neto. I think Pedro Neto links is exactly what we need. I'd love for us to get him. I think when he is fit, he is one of the better players in his position in the league. You can compare him with Saka's and with what's his name from Palace, Elise, Eze's, all these. I think he goes into that category for me. Yeah, he's not Salah level. We're not going to go in history and start comparing him to the Hazards of this world or the Pires, David Silvas or players like that. But you can say that he's got the potential to be very good, but also right now, he is one of the better players in his position in the league when he's fit. Now, the injuries he's had have been worrying, but they haven't kept him out for 3 seasons, 2 seasons, 7 months, 9 months. But they have been quite worrying. It's been little niggles, it's been hamstrings, it's been tendons, it's been Achilles. I've not been a fan of some of those injuries. However, like I say, me and Troops were talking about it. For 20 games a season, you take him and you wrap him in that cotton wool and you say, right, you're not going to be playing every single game. But I tell you what you're going to do. You're going to come on for 20 minutes here and there and you're going to start some of the League Cup, FA Cup games. You're going to be a part of the Champions League squad and you're going to help us win trophies. That's what it should be like. That's what it should be like for those players that are on the bench. They should be looking there going, right, I'm happy to get 20 minutes here or there. Now I'm happy to start. Now I can start moving my way back into the first team. That's what Trossard, Martinelli, Smith Rowe, all these players have had to do over the last couple of seasons. It's only really the Sakas and the Salibas and the Erdegaards of this world that I'd like, wow, they're just too good. They never have a poor game that's droppable that you can go, because you know the next game they're going to get back on it. But somebody like a Martinelli or a Trossard or a Smith Rowe, Gabriel Jesus, Zinchenko, even Kai Havertz have all had to try and keep their place, and it's been hard. And that's what football should be about. You shouldn't be able to just walk in to a football team, not at the level of Arsenal, and just accept that you're the guy and that's it. No one's better than you. No, it don't work like that. Not for me, it don't. So I think getting Pedro Neto would be a fantastic signing for Arsenal. I think it really would. The other player we're linked with, of course, is Xavi Simmons. Now, he's been linked with a lot of clubs, not just Arsenal. And the reason that he's being linked is because PSG are considering another loan move for him. Now, if you remember, the first time we bumped into Xavi Simmons was when we were in the Europa League and Arsenal had PSV in their Europa League group. And I remember looking at that guy thinking, yeah, along with Ibrahim Sangare and Cody Gakpo at the time, they were the three players that I looked at and thought, wow. And Xavi Simmons then went on loan to Leipzig last season, and I thought he was a baller there as well. And I'm just surprised that PSG have not been able to give this guy a chance yet. I'm a big fan of him. I think he's a top talent. I think he's a young enough player to actually grow and have potential. My problem is what this loan move might look like for a club. Is it going to be an opportunity or a situation where we develop Xavi Simmons and have to give him back? Or is it an obligation or an option to buy him? Because if we were going to actually have him on loan and then potentially obligation to buy him £50 million, I'm taking it 100% tomorrow. The guy can play right, the guy can play left, the guy can play attack mid, the guy can probably play attacking 8, which is what I think he did start as in PSV. He's a player that I look at and think, you've got everything I like in a footballer to watch. Very easy on the eye, very creative, got that flair, got that spark, got that tenacity, the attitude and personality looks there. I think he's a player that Arteta and Edu really like, and I just hope that we can get something agreed, because for me, it's a player that we can get alongside somebody like Neto. It's not somebody instead of. Neto is very much, in my opinion, a winger, but can play inside. Xavi Simmons is someone that can be versatile enough to play in a few positions. And I think that if you was to get Ødegaard and Saka both out, Pedro Neto and Xavi Simmons are the two that you want coming in. Because at the moment, we've got Reece Nelson and potentially Vieira. Now, who would you rather have? Reece Nelson and Vieira? Or Pedro Neto and Xavi Simmons? I'm taking Pedro Neto and Xavi Simmons any day of the week. So let's see. I don't think we'll have enough money to get all of these players in. And people might listen to this thinking, crikey, does this bloke think it's FIFA or Monopoly or something? You're not going to spend 60 million on GUEHI, 60 million on Pedro Neto, 100 million on Osimhen, 60 million on Simmons, and then go and get 100 million on Bruno G. I get this. I'm not saying we're going to go and get them all. But you've got to discuss each link and look at the possibility or the opportunity of whether you think it's good or not, and whether you think it's realistic or not. And I think all of the players that we've been linked with so far are realistic. They're just not all realistic to come at the same window. So we have to look at the order of priority of where we're looking at. And I think it's great that when a player is linked with a rumour or a move that we think, he'd be good, Arsenal's name's there. So, I don't know, man. I kind of like the links that we're having so far. There's not been a link so far that I think, no way, I don't want that. It's not like we've woke up one morning and Arsenal are being linked with a massive, massive bid for Weston McKennie over at Juventus, and we're like, what? It's not like we're being linked with Melia, the Leeds goalkeeper, or we're being linked with Ipswich Town's player because he's just come in and Sam Morsey's on his way to Arsenal. All of those, you'd be scratching your head going, what's going on here? What's happening? But let's be real. We are going to get players in at Arsenal, 100%. We just need to ensure that it's in the right priority and the right positions that's needed. So that's where I'm at with that. Then that leaves us to the striker position. This Osimhen rumour just keeps going, doesn't it? A lot of reports in England are saying that we've called interest in Osimhen. A lot of the reports in Italy are saying we're preparing a bid for Osimhen. So we're clearly interested and he's on our list. The problem with Arsenal is the list just gets longer and longer. It started with Isak. Quite quickly, it changed to Osimhen. Quite quickly, it changed to Sesko. Quite quickly, it changed to Tony. Watkins has been mentioned. Victor Gyökeres has been mentioned. If I had to be honest with you, the Osimhen one is probably the one that would scare most players, most opposition. The Tony one would probably allow people to think maybe that's a good signing, maybe it's not. The Victor Gyökeres one would be a risk because of the league that he's coming from too, although he has got experience in England. But what one is not going to be a risk? The answer is none of them. They're all going to be a risk. Isak is the only one that is not a risk. Tony and Watkins might be less of a risk because they're Premier League proven. Osimhen might be less of a risk because he's a border over in Italy. Gyökeres might be more of a risk because he's coming from a different league and he's not played at the level of Arsenal yet, because Lisbon and Coventry is not. They're all going to be. They're all going to be. So where do we go? Where do we go from here? Do we want Osimhen? That's my question to the chat. Do you want Osimhen? Yes or no? Just put yes or no in the chat so I know. Do you want Victor Osimhen at Arsenal? Yes or no? It's simple. If I had to ask now, I would say yes out of the players we've been linked with. I think he would be a good signing for Arsenal. Do I think he would win us the title? I have absolutely no idea, because it is so difficult to get across the line. Would Victor Osimhen help? Absolutely. I've got no doubt that he would score goals at Arsenal. Dan's saying 100%. Marco's saying yes. H is saying no. James is saying no. Niffin's saying, what about Mateta from Palace? I think that's a system thing that's doing well at Palace. I don't think he'd be the guy for Arsenal. PSV is saying Tony. Tom's saying no to Osimhen. Fromis gonna no to Osimhen. Dan saying he would get us a trophy. Marco says it's risky. Paul says no. Yeah, I don't know personally any striker we're going to get that isn't a risk. I'm sorry, guys. I don't think we are going to get a striker that's not a risk. And I'll even put money on this. I think Kai Havertz starts up top for Arsenal at the start of the season. I think the first game of the season, Kai Havertz is our number 9. And I think that a lot of people might think is crazy. There's probably 50 to 60% of people that say right two, he's been brilliant there. So I think it's really difficult to look, if I'm honest, and understand what is right and what is wrong right now as far as Arsenal are concerned. When it comes to Kai Havertz, I'm a fan of what I've seen of him in the number 9 position. I was not a fan of him in midfield. I thought it was poor. So, yeah, I kind of feel like we are needing a striker. I don't want Arsenal to just get a winger and not a striker. I think that would be poor. I think there's an argument to say that we need 6 players to guarantee that we have a squad that's good enough to compete in all 4 fronts. There's an argument to say 6. A goalkeeper is 1, a defender is 2, 2 midfielders is 4, a winger, a creative midfielder, and a striker. That's 7. That's 7 players that we could quite easily sign now, or need to sign. Are they all going to be of the quality? Have we got 300 million to spend? Who knows? I don't have a clue how much we've got to spend. But I would argue that Ødegaard doesn't have an adequate cover. Neither does Saka. We don't have a striker. Don't have a left 8. Don't have a box-to-box midfielder. Definitely need a defender. Definitely need a goalkeeper. That's 7. That's 7 players. So Arsenal got a lot to do. And I honestly believe that Arsenal will get 3, maybe 4 players. I don't think that we're going to cover all positions. In terms of priority, midfield and striker option needs to be looked at first. I would say wide winger needs to be looked at then. And I think the goalkeeper and defence is so non-priority that I think it will just be a simple signing of a backup goalkeeper that we don't really know and a backup defender no one's really sure of. But the other positions, they have to be sorted. They have to be. I need to be seeing Pedro Neto linked heavily, Xavi Simmons. I want to be seeing Osimhen and Gyökeres being linked up top. I want to be seeing Bruno Guimaraes and De Jong and Yusuf Fofana being mentioned. I want to be seeing some of the other names that we've mentioned previously on streams being linked that makes you go, "Whoa, okay, I'll take that." I don't want to be seeing players that are ready in 5 years' time, 20 years old, 21 years old, etc., etc. I want to be seeing that. So that's where I'm at. What will Arsenal do this summer? £200 million we believe we've got. Probably going to be selling players 100 to 30 to 150 plus. I think those players will be Ramsdale, Kieran Tierney, Nuntavaj, Lokonga. I think we'll probably get rid of Reece Nelson and Eddie Nketiah. And then there's question marks over Vieira, Partey and Smith Rowe. If we sell them players, we're going to get 130, 150 million. You add that to your 200 million, you've got 350 million to spend. Then it starts getting interesting. Then you can afford Mark GUEHI on top of what you've got. Then you can afford Pedro or Neto or Elise. then you can afford Xavi Simmons, and you can afford Osimhen. Then it starts to get interesting. So I think we need to get our player sales spot on. I really do. I think that is probably as important as the players we bring in, is who we get out and how we sell. So let's be real. That's where we've got to be 100% looking at. Let's close by talking about England. In an hour's time, the team will be ready to face Denmark. We will be going for our second game of the tournament. It is going to be the same team as last time, which means Pickford will be in goal. It will be Walker and Trippier as the fullbacks. John Stones and Mark GUEHI in midfield. It will be Bellingham, Rice, and of course, Trent Alexander-Arnold, and a front three of Saka, Foden, and Kane. I just want to see how he changes things if we look unbalanced still. And I don't have the faith that Southgate will do that. I don't want to be seeing Kobbie Mainoo and Gallagher coming on as subs to impact the game. I want to be seeing the use of Gordon and Palmer on that left-hand side if Foden can't do it. Foden comes into the middle and then they go out there. Trent goes at right back. That needs to be a sub. And in fact, I'll say it now. If that doesn't happen at half-time, if it's 0-0 or 1-0 at half-time, and we don't get to a stage where we make a change, that Trent goes right back, that Bellingham and Rice do a double pivot, and then you've got Foden in front, and then Palmer or Gordon on the left, I think Southgate is an absolute fool, and I don't know how anyone can back him. So I don't get excited about this game. I don't get excited about England under Southgate. We've done this for a long time in the last, 4 tournaments now? We go 1-0 up and everybody gets scared. Calm down. Don't get 2 or 3. Calm down. And then we know either draw or throw it away. And that will happen in the quarters or the semis against France or Germany. That will happen. Mark my words. We will, and you can clip me up, we will lose to a team like that in the quarters or the semi-finals because Gareth Southgate has not got what it takes to get England across the line. And I hope that this is clipped up and it's shown at the end when England win it and I'm in the mud. A little bit of a reverse psychology for you, Gareth and England. Go win the tournament and shut me up. But I don't think we can because I don't think the manager's good enough. And I've looked at what I've seen in the last game and nothing makes me change my mind more. In fact, I actually don't like the team at all as a team. I like them all individually, but I don't like where they're playing. I don't like where Trent's out of position. I don't like where Bellingham's out of position. I don't like where, Foden is out of position. I don't like Trippier being out of position. I need players to turn up today. I need to see Foden. I need to see Kane. I need to see Kieran Trippier and why he's playing left back. That's what I've got to be seeing. I need to see Trent in midfield working because if it doesn't, I'm going to be knocking on Gareth's door saying, what's happening then? What's going on? That's the way I see it. My prediction for tonight is 2-1 England. I think we will concede, but I think we'll win the game. And we should be winning the game. With the players that we've got in this squad, we have got enough to beat them. And we've got enough to change the game. So when I look at it, I think we've got enough on the bench. Tony, Watkins, Palmer, Gordon, Kobbie Mainoo, to all be brought on to actually have an impact in the game. So that's the way I see it. Big up to Sophie and Highbury squad. I'm delivering facts over my morning coffee. Big up to you. Make sure you do me a favor, people. Make sure you go over to Highbury squad. Make sure you like. Make sure you subscribe. And make sure you join for 10 p.m. tonight after the Spain-Italy game. It is an absolute must. I know you've all said you're going to be over there anyway, but please make sure that you are, because for me, this is going to be one of the best shows that Highbury squad has ever done. This is a massive tribute to a top gentleman and a true friend. Mr. Kevin Campbell is getting the tribute, and it is going to be absolutely superb. So please make sure tonight at 10 p.m. you are over there, people, and make sure that you support what is going to be a wonderful, wonderful podcast. So make sure you're over at the channel tonight at Highbury Squad, 10 p.m. We'll leave it there, people. We're out of here. Take it easy, and we'll see you next time. And as always, of course, up the Arsenal. Laters.